Jain and Kishore, welcome to episode 1 of Talks by Terapanth Kishore Mandal Vijaynagar. In the first episode, we're very pleased to have Vaibhav Nahata with us as a speaker. In this episode, we are going to see how Vaibhav Nahata manages the TKM, manages his business, and all while traveling around the world. So I hope you like this episode and please watch till the end. Om Aram. Jai Jindra Kishores, welcome to the TKM podcast by episode Vijaynagar. Here with us we have a special guest, a very known personality. We all know him. We have the Rashtriya Seh Prabhari of Terapanth Kishore Mandal, Mr. Vaibhav Nahata. Thank you, sir, for coming and joining us today on the first episode of TKM Vijaynagar.
I am not Mr. Vaibhav. Vaibhav, ठीक है.
Those who don't know, other than being a Seh Prabhari of Terapanth Kishore Mandal, Vaibhav Bhaiya is an entrepreneur, an author, a traveler, influencer, and content creator. In this episode, we are going to go through Vaibhav's personal life, a bit of his success story, his growth journey, and something to know for the Kishores, some advices for the Kishores to grow being a part of Kishore Mandal. First, we'll start talking about the talks. What would you guide us and guide other episodes of Terapanth Kishore Mandal that using this podcast method of taking videos and creating content, how can we grow our knowledge? How can we grow others' knowledge who are the viewers' knowledge, and what exactly should we cover in this podcast type of long form video?
Sure, I'll answer a question beyond what you asked as well. Let's start with talking about why it makes any sense to be involved with Terapanth Kishore Mandal at all.
Yeah, done.
And then maybe we'll touch upon the talks part as well.
Done.
But I want to just start by phrasing that this is probably less about me, more about Kishore Mandal,
Yeah.
Because that's what is meaningful to us. All of us, we are at this age, teenage mein, where we want companionship. We want friends, we want dash friends or friend, This is the age to make that happen.
Yeah.
Right? And having the right companionship is very important, because akele rehna is ideal, but it's very difficult for us, And right company is important because, there's this famous quote that goes,
You become the
you become the average of five people you stay around. And the other thing is, if you're in a room, you'll always notice that the poor people or the poor mindset people will talk about people. The people with average mindset will talk about events. कल ये हुआ था, परसों ये होने वाला है, तरसों ये हुआ था, उसने इसको ये कर दिया, उसके बीच में चक्कर चल रहा है, all of that stuff. And the people at the top, the rich mindset people or the rich people, they'll always talk about ideas, So Terapanth Kishore Mandal is a platform for you to find friends, your friends in crime and your friends in growth. That's what Kishore Mandal is about. You stay around people of your age who match the same faith as you, who have the same goals as you. In the sense, ठीक है, सबको कुछ ना कुछ बनना है, But at the end of the day, सबको मोक्ष भी जाना है. And क्यों मोक्ष जाना है, we'll talk about it maybe further. Why does it make any sense at all, Why this is about. But that's what Kishore Mandal is about. You find yourself a group of people that you can live and die with, who can be your companions in your growth and in your life, बहुत सारे important आयाम्स है किशोर मंडल के. Now TKM Talks is very important for us to touch upon now, because if you open your YouTube right now, सबसे पहले रणवीर अलाहाबादिया भैया आ जाएंगे, राज शमानी भैया आ जाएंगे, है ना? You'll have all these people come up because the fastest growing format of content in India is podcast. And the reason podcast works is कि audience को लगता है कि you are part of this room. आप भी इस room के एक part हो, है ना? Even without you being over here. You can say anything in the comment, you can be involved. And that's why we have TKM Talks. Now TKM Talks as an IAM is not specifically to talk only about faith in terms of Jainism, or only to talk about success and life and all of that stuff. You can literally come in and talk about anything that's interesting to you. You can come in with a friend and talk about yetis, yetis.
Okay.
You can talk about ghost. You can talk about a lot of things. Of course, there are some things you can't talk about that you want to talk about, and I'm not responsible for that. But most of the things you can talk about that make sense to you. टीकेएम टॉक्स का मतलब ये नहीं है कि एक आदमी को बुला के बात करना है, 4 जन आपस में दोस्त बैठ जाओ, जस्ट टॉक लाइक यू डू अबाउट द टॉपिक दैट यू फाइंड रिलेवेंट, यू नो. इफ यू फाइंड इट रिलेवेंट टू टॉक अबाउट एनीथिंग, यू नो, यार महाराज क्या क्यों जाना चाहिए, जस्ट सिट 4 फ्रेंड्स एंड टॉक अबाउट इट. अगर आपको लग रहा है कि यू नो शुड आई परस्यू साइंस और कॉमर्स, आपस में फ्रेंड्स बात करते हैं, जो बात आप चाय पे कर रहे हो बैठ के एक रूम में कैमरा के आगे करो, दैट्स टीकेएम टॉक्स, यू नो. A step further, TKM Talks is about getting an inspiration from people who are performing at the top level, you know. एक हो गया अपने फ्रेंड्स के साथ में कर रहे हैं, दूसरे पीपल हु कैन बी इंस्पायर्ड, हु वी कैन बी इंस्पायर्ड बाय. दिस कुड बी चारित्रात्मास, दिस कुड बी people we look up to into our society, this could be people beyond our society that we look up to, you know. So long answer, but to keep it short, TKM Talks is about having meaningful conversation with people who matter.
As a member of TKM, you would have found something and would have learned something, would have got something. So just tell us about your journey, a bit of your relationship with TKM.
Sure. So my journey with TKM started probably around 2015 in a way. 15 से थोड़ा सा पहले, if I could put it on, कि Viratnagar, I come from Viratnagar in Nepal, and so I am not from India, I am from Nepal, just so you guys know. And we had a Kishore Mandal chapter that we were trying to start. We ended up starting a Kishore Mandal chapter in Viratnagar, and at that point of time, I think I was 14 or 13 or 15, something around that. And we started Kishore Mandal chapter over there. I was the first Prabhari, first Sanyojak of Kishore Mandal back in the day.
Viratnagar.
Yes. Nice. So we led some interesting events over there. You know, Kishore को join करने के लिए काफी किया. We had a very large flood event happen in the city that same year. So we had a massive donation campaign that we raised of clothes and stuff. That's how my journey with TKM started. And then local chapters में जो करते हैं अपने regular events हुए, साधु साधुओं के ड्रामा वगैरह events होते हैं. My life transformed very powerfully around 2017. You know, उससे पहले I was involved with Kishore Mandal. I was doing some stuff here and there. But 2017 में क्या हुआ, मेरे संस्कार निर्माण शिविर बोल के अपना एक प्रोग्राम होता है.
होता है.
एंड उसने मेरे जीवन को पूरी तरह से बदल के रख दिया. मतलब at 13 and 14 I'll tell you, Harsh, I was a kid who was most bullied in classroom, you know. So every classroom has that one kid, कोई भी बजा के चला जाता है, you know. And there are some kids, उसको सब कोई क्लास के भी बजा के चल जाते हैं, सीनियर्स भी बजा के चल जाते हैं. I was a level beyond them. मेरे को जूनियर्स भी बजा के चले जाते थे, you know. And for me, जो संस्कार निर्माण शिविर का प्रोग्राम था, that changed everything I knew about me, you know. Identity shift बोलते हैं उसको. Like my identity about myself changed. मैं कौन हूँ अपने बारे में चेंज हो गया, you know. And then उसके बाद योगेश मुनि की बहुत कृपा रही. He has been my role model, my guide, my mentor in every walk of life, personal life, professional life, Kishore Mandal, anything, you know. That's when I came in contact with Munishri. I did a lot of things before I started with Kishore Mandal. I did internship at 9 Paces. I sold memory cards, you know. I sold lanterns. I sold books, you know. A lot of odd jobs. And I just realized I enjoy speaking. So I started speaking, you know. And then when all of that was happening, मेरे को Munishri ने बैंगलोर में बुलाया फॉर बैंगलोर में था संभवतः. यस, बैंगलोर को मैं बुलाया बोलने के लिए अधिवेशन में. आइदर इट वाज बैंगलोर और चेन्नई का जब चातुर्मास हुआ था. दे आई केम इन एज अ स्पीकर, यू नो.
2019.
Yes.
19 में बैंगलोर हुआ था.
Yes. So I in the Bangalore का जब हुआ था अधिवेशन, then I came in as a speaker. And Rishi, who is also Seh Prabhari, he puts a lot of effort into this. I need to acknowledge that as we are here. He probably works much harder than me, you know. And the fact is कि जब वो हुआ था तब मैं और ऋषि आए थे साथ में, and Rishi was singing that time. I came in to speak and stuff. अच्छा रहा प्रोग्राम वगैरह. देन मुनीषी का विजन था कि मेरे को इन्वॉल्व होना चाहिए इन सम वे. तो नेक्स्ट ईयर आई गॉट इनटू ब्लू ब्रिगेड. आई कंट्रीब्यूटेड इन अ फ्यू इवेंट्स. वी मेड सम इंटरेस्टिंग इवेंट्स हैपन. देन मुनीश्री को, आई डोंट नो व्हाट मुनीश्री थॉट, बट आई गॉट समहाउ इनटू दिस पोजीशन वेयर आई गेट टू सर्व एज किशोर मंडल का राष्ट्रीय सह प्रभारी. माय फेवरेट पार्ट अबाउट दिस इज getting to meet amazing kishores like you, Harsh, you know. There's so much to learn from you guys, so much zeal, so much enthusiasm, and then if we can channelize all of our energies, you know, to make sure कि अपना जो, you know, किशोर समाज है, the young people, they can make something meaningful out of life, and more importantly, you know, the hollow that the biggest problem the young generation face, मतलब सब कुछ हो गया लेकिन अंदर में खालीपन है, you know. And that's where Kishore Mandal comes in, because Kishore Mandal connects you to you, you know. And that's what I love about my I would say my I wouldn't say job, but my role in Kishore Mandal as a whole. I have a book that I wrote. I have a book that's published. I have spoken to more than 240,000 students from virtual platforms, my videos, my sessions. But yes, I do have a book.
And the book is named The
Undercover Teacher.
According to me, the undercover teacher is all the people you meet while you're traveling, while you're visiting different places. जहाँ भी आप जाते हो, जिनसे भी आप मिलते हो, आप उनसे कुछ ना कुछ सीखते हो. Am I right? मतलब, are they the teachers?
Yes. And a step further, the book is about basically कि undercover teacher does not have to be a person, you know. Undercover teachers are things. The idea of undercover teacher is Harsh ki, for Abdul Kalam, you know, he saw a bird flying in the sky. Eagle, right? Yeah. And that gave him his vision of life. कि मुझे missiles बनाने. Like if I have a piece of, you know, a cashew nut over here right now, you know, you can learn something from this shape. You can learn something from the design of the, cashew, right? Because there's something to learn out of everything. Because it's not about this thing that we are going to learn. It's about our mindset, you know. And the book is about developing that mindset and basically growing from it. I usually like to live with strangers. So I was 45 days in Europe. The whole time I would find random people and I would sleep at their homes with no idea who they were. I would have a backpack. I would be in one country, forget the city. I wouldn't know which country I'll be in the next day a lot of times, you know. A lot of scary moments happen over there, but I just like living like that when I'm traveling, you know. I don't want to be travel. I don't remember when I was in Europe for the 1.5 months. I never booked a hotel. Never, you know. Yeah, that's how I like to travel. Yes. For me, travel is about people more than places. I have no plans when I'm traveling most often. मैं Paris गया हूँ. On top of my priority list is कि I want to spend some time by myself. अब मैं आईफिल टावर, बहुत सारी चीज़ें देखने के लिए मेरा पेरिस में. मैंने देखा आईफिल टावर के पास में एक नदी है. मेरे को वहाँ पे बैठ गया. मेरे को मज़ा आ रहा है. मैं क्यों और कुछ करूँगा. 2 दिन मैं गया, वापस बैठा. I had a vision कि मेरे को I want to do salsa. And I did not have any friends out there to do salsa with. So I found a bunch of strangers next to the Eiffel Tower and I did my salsa. Because I did, and here's the fun part, I don't know how to do salsa. I find veg restaurants almost everywhere I go. Indian restaurant, कभी travel ज़्यादा करना पड़ता है, कभी कुछ करना पड़ता है. नहीं तो the best thing is you can find fruits to it. Fruits are always vegetarian. But sometimes it can be boring to eat fruits, you know. So most often तेरे को suppose मैं हो जाता है, it somehow हो जाता है, I don't know, हो जाता है. But I am very strict on that part. I have a lot of friends, I have a lot of fun, but I'm very strict about our values. खान पान अपना एकदम शुद्ध होना चाहिए, you know. That's something we have to live with, you know. That's our identity, you know. मैं पढ़ रहा था, if you have an iPhone, we carry around with a pride कि मेरा Apple का लोगो दिखना चाहिए. वैसे मेरा identity है, मैं जैन हूँ, मैं तेरापंथी हूँ. कोई पूछे कि why don't you eat at a non-veg restaurant? Because I'm a Jain. That's a pride I live with. You know, everyone is around you in the table. They're taking their drinks. So why would you like to have something? Why not have? Because I'm a Jain. You know, that's a pride I get to live with. Yeah. कितनी अच्छी चीज़ है festival of forgiveness. So I do love to share about that. I have some videos कि मतलब अपने आगे में किम में करम किम से में किच. There are sloks that I really enjoy. I share about that sometimes. मेरी दीदी की दीक्षा का documentary, I've showed that to at least 50 to 100 people personally when I'm traveling. हाँ, because they're confused what it is. So I got English subtitles specially on the documentary क्योंकि मेरे को दिखाना है उन लोगों को. Yeah.
So you do your business, you do it while traveling, not being at home, being at some random place, some random street, and any time of the day. You do it or any time of the day. Yeah. So how can the Kishores do something like this and attain the time freedom, the place freedom, which the traditional businesses, the galla businesses, which they sit in the shop and they just attend customers, and how can the Kishores upgrade from that business to this digital nomad business?
So here's to be clear, I have nothing bad to talk about galla business. It's one way to do it. I think digital nomad is not an upgrade, it's a different way of doing it. ठीक है, मतलब ये दो अलग अलग चीजें हैं. आई एम नॉट सेइंग दिस इज गुड और दिस इज बैड. When we are young we aspire to do it that way, and for me how it's worked out is I found something I was interested in. I was interested in marketing. I was interested in videos. I was a speaker. So I used to travel around the world speaking a lot of times. I've spoken to students from like 54 different countries, virtually and in person. In person I've spoken to about 15 different countries. For me, I found a sync between the things I was interested in. So मेरे को पहला स्पीकिंग में इंटरेस्ट है, दूसरा मेरे को वीडियोस में इंटरेस्ट है, मार्केटिंग में इंटरेस्ट है. तो मैंने क्या किया, वीडियो मार्केटिंग फॉर स्पीकर्स. माई बिजनेस नाउ इज आई वर्क विद द टॉप tier 5% ऑफ स्पीकर्स इन द US एंड कैनेडा, और हम उनकी मार्केटिंग करते हैं टू हेल्प देम बिल्ड देयर बिजनेस, राइट. सो it is for you to understand. ये ना नवल राव, and this is a recommendation I have for all the Kishores out there. नवल रविकांत का एक पॉडकास्ट है 3 घंटा का, how to get rich without getting lucky or something like that, you know. 3 घंटा का जबरदस्त चीज है, you know. And there he talks about something very interesting. He talks about specific knowledge. Specific knowledge मतलब क्या है कि हर्ष is a member of Terapanth Kishore Mandal. He is interested in Praksha meditation, example, ठीक है. At the same time you are really good at trading. आपको ट्रेडिंग में एग्जाम्पल बहुत इंटरेस्ट है, आपको ट्रेड करने में उसमें मजा आता है, आपको सौदा बनाना अच्छे से आता है, यू नो. देन यू आर ऑल्सो इंटरेस्टेड विद ट्रैवल. सो अब तीनों को सिंक कैसे कर सकते हैं अपने, कि मेडिटेशन जो है उसका कोई मान लो प्रोड्यूस होता है, एग्जाम्पल ले रहा हूँ, मे बी देयर समथिंग लाइक कोई मेडिटेशन मैट होता है, या फिर देयर सम इक्विपमेंट दैट हेल्प्स पीपल विद मेडिटेशन, एंड यू कैन ट्रेड दैट टू योगा सेंटर्स अक्रॉस द वर्ल्ड. एग्जाम्पल दे रहा हूँ. For me, I found that sync in that way. I'm not saying I have a very large business. I just have 8 employees right now. It's a growing business right now. Maybe I've been building it on my own. So I'm still learning about that. But for me, the way it has worked out is I found things that work together. And then I've worked hard to build these connections in the US and Canada. Pehle se. And then I went out there and showed what I was doing and built it. बहुत सारे models हैं. There are few channels I'd recommend if you're young and if you want to become a digital nomad. First is Ishan Sharma. There's a YouTube channel called Ishan Sharma. The young teenager. हाँ, ये teenager and he's doing really good. You know. Second is Iman Ghazi. He's a very controversial figure. बहुत ज़्यादा he shows off a lot. क्या इसमें controversy? I think all the teenagers is I think they're already watching Iman Ghazi. Me, all the three, we all the three talk about Iman Ghazi. Though he's a foreigner, but the content it gives. हाँ, मतलब थोड़ा सा दिखावा ज्यादा है. We don't get to judge anybody. कोई सिद्ध नहीं है यहाँ पे, है ना. But उनका content high value है, अच्छा content है उनका. There are some other people I really like to follow. But yeah, these two are good people to learn from. And बहुत सारे business models है. I run an agency model of business. You can start with freelancing if that's what you're interested in, and then you can go into an agency. E-com है, दुनिया भर के अलग अलग चीज़ें. Internet is a great equalizer. It does not care if you're from India. It does not care if you're from any other country. Yeah, that's how it's worked out for me. That does not go on to say I don't work. I work 12 hours a day, 14 hours a day. I love my work, you know. But I get to choose when I work. मेरे को कोई कॉल नहीं कर सकता है. No one can call me. No one can order me. I'm not accountable to anybody. If you want to talk to me, book a call. You know. Okay. If you want to do anything, you have to talk to me that way. You know. मैं किसी को जवाब देता नहीं है. मैं of course if you're my client, I'm going to serve you well. I have my project managers in place to take care of that. But I'm no one's. I'm not accountable to anybody. Accountable is not the right word. But I'm not. जब हाजिर होना वो मेरे से नहीं होगा. You know, मैं अपनी मर्जी का मालिक हूँ. That's something important to me. You know, that freedom is कि ठीक है आपको टाइम चाहिए मेरा, you can talk to me. I would love to talk to you. If you're my client, I'd love to talk to you. But these are my terms as well of how we work. And I communicate that to my people. Yeah. And it's not कि मैं खाली ये करता हूँ. Across the board अगर मेरी टीम भी है, they get to choose when they work. They have no hours. किसी को मन है कि रात को काम करना है. I have my team, my one of my project managers, she works from 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. in the morning. I don't care. I could care less. She lives in India? She lives in Nepal and I don't care. Okay. उनको जिसको जब करना है करो, मेरे को काम किया हुआ चाहिए. And I just need to make sure that you're communicating with your team accordingly. But yeah, that's how it is. I do read books. बीच में थोड़ा कम हुआ था. I've started reading again. दिस मंथ मैंने पढ़ा था, सुना था मैं, हाँ, दिस इज समथिंग आई लाइक टू शेयर। नहीं, पॉडकास्ट अपने, मैं यही बोलता हूँ, बोलते हैं ना किताब पढ़ना मुश्किल है, मत पढ़ो, सुन लो, you know, autobiographies, and that's my, I have a bias towards autobiographies. और दुनिया भर के यूट्यूब में पढ़े हैं, इफ नॉट ऐसे अपने कितने पैसे कितने जगह खर्च कर देते हैं, यू नो, 200 रुपए के लिए कोई नहीं सोचता है, जस्ट गेट एन ऑडिबल सब्सक्रिप्शन। यहाँ पे इंडिया में तो शायद वो भी, क्या नाम है, एक कुकू FM, I've heard good things about it, you know, and you just get to listen to books when you're traveling, ट्रेन में कम्यूट कर रहे हैं, बस में हो, कान में तो डालो और अच्छी चीजें दिमाग में जा रही है, you know। And suppose मैंने इस मंथ पढ़ा था about the autobiography of the guy Howard Schultz, the guy behind, I think I pronounced it wrong, but the guy behind Starbucks, you know. Now I'm reading Elon Musk का biography, and then साथ में दीदी महाराज मेरे को आत्मा और शरीर, I'm reading that right now. But yeah, I'm trying to get back into reading. I think I've read about 50 to 60 books so far, which is not a good amount, but maybe more than that. I think maybe 60, 100, I don't know. Yeah, but if your question is if you have any recommendations for the Kishores, I have a few. First, highly recommend for every Kishores is The Third Door by Alex Panyan. बहुत जबरदस्त बुक है ये। The reason is देखो, अपने क्या बोलते हैं कि अगर अपने को आगे बढ़ना है, तो एक होता है कि बोलते हैं अब जो all of us hate the word कि corporate में द तरीका, इफ यू वांट टू ग्रो इन करियर 1 2 3 4 मैनेजर। दूसरा तरीका होता है कि यू अपने बोलते हैं ना, मेरा पापा अंबानी है या विधायक का बेटा हूं मैं, यू नो, हमारे चाचा विधायक है। प्रॉब्लम बोथ ऑफ अस ऑन, यू आर नॉट इन बोथ ऑफ दो सिचुएशन, सो हाउ कैन यू लेवरेज कनेक्शंस टू ग्रो अर्ली इन योर करियर। बहुत जबरदस्त बुक है ये। द नेम गाइज नेम इज एलेक्स बनियान एंड ही हिमसेल्फ वाज वेरी यंग and he went out to talk to Bill Gates and all these big shot people, and he shares about how he did it and how young people can leverage। बोलते हैं ना कि एक दूर हो गया कि मेरे पापा विधायक, मेरे चाचा विधायक है, दूसरा वे हो गया कि you know, the corporate cycle which is very slow, the system, the state, that's why he talks about the third door, एक तीसरा रास्ता भी है। So that's why I find that book very interesting. When I read, मेरे को बहुत मजा आया था। Building connection with the top 1। हाँ, और कैसे बना के उसको, कैसे उसमें ईमेल का टेम्पलेट्स वगैरह, बहुत जबरदस्त बुक है। The second book I really liked is, and this is what got me into reading, मेरे को पढ़ने में बहुत मुश्किल होता था। एक किताब पढ़ते, एक चैप्टर पढ़ते मन ढाप जाता, नहीं पढ़ा जाता है। But this book got me into reading. The book is called Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. He's the guy behind Nike. And he shares about how he went from a college student to building such a big conglomerate. वो जापान में उसकी कंपनी नहीं है, वहाँ पे उसके साथ डील क्रैक करके, बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग बुक है, मजा आता है। So I really enjoyed that book. And yeah, these are the two books I really enjoyed. If I go on and on, there are a lot of things. If you are an introvert, then again, this is classic, everyone talks about it, but How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie is a good book. I love Alchemist a lot. मैंने 3-4 बार सुना. Again, a very common book. I don't like recommending common books, but I really love that one. Jonathan Livingston Seagull is really good. बहुत अच्छा बुक है। इट्स अबाउट अ सीगल, मतलब जैसे सीगल बर्ड होती है ना, वो सब बर्ड, वो उनका वही जीवन होता था, मतलब मछली को मारना है, खाना है, वो करना है, जीवन उनका वैसा ही था। दिस गाय ट्राइज टू लिव अ डिफरेंट लाइफ, बहुत सुंदर लिखा था। एंड द गाय हु रोट इट इज एन अमेजिंग ऑथर। उनकी एक दूसरी बुक भी इल्यूजन्स बोल के, रिचर्ड बैक है उनका नाम। बट या, सो too much said, but you can start with The Third Door, you can start with Phil Knight की autobiography. These are two good starts. Nice. Jonathan Livingston is a good start. उसका ऑडियो बुक भी है YouTube में। एक बात है कि जब मैं किताब पढ़ता हूँ, सब चीज दिमाग में नहीं जाती है। आपकी जितनी जाती है उसकी 1/3 मेरी जाती है। Just to clarify that, I forget everything. Me too. You know. And the thing is, number one, the reason of reading books is to not learn everything. The reason to read books is to get access to those thought patterns. उसका मतलब क्या हुआ, जब मैं अभी इलॉन मस्क की बायोग्राफी पढ़ रहा हूँ, मैंने इंटरेस्टिंग चीज एक पढ़ी। आई हर्ड कि वो गया था, उसको बाद की बात है ये, ही वाज ट्राइंग टू बिल्ड हिज ओन मिसाइल्स, यू नो, ही वांटेड टू गेट इनटू स्पेस ट्रैवल एंड सब, बहुत सक्सेस कर लिया, पेपाल बना लिया, ये कर लिया, वो कर लिया। वो गया रशिया डील क्रैक करने के लिए, वो बोलता है 8 मिलियन लगेगा, तो वो लोग बोलते कि तुम बच्चा बॉय, हम लोग वो सब नहीं करते। Elon Musk has been my inspiration from the childhood. हाँ, तो ये सब स्टोरी। हाँ, तो so he comes back and he is like, मैं भाई आने से पहले ये सुन रहा था, he was like कि चलो हम लोग अब रॉकेट बनाते, लाइक पागल हो गया ये। एंड वो कैसे सोच रहा था वहां पे, मेरे को ये याद नहीं रहेगा कि कौन सा मिसाइल कितने रेट में क्या खरीदने वाला था वो। आई डोंट केयर अबाउट दैट। बुक्स आर नॉट अबाउट हिस्ट्री एग्जाम्स, you don't have to remember the dates. No. It's about access to the thought patterns. वो ऐसे सोच रहा था, okay, this is how the people at the very top think. मेरे को वो access चाहिए, जब शू डॉग बना रहे थे, ही हैड नो आइडिया. वो मतलब जापान में गए हैं, ब्लू रिबन स्पोर्ट्स बोल के बड़ी कंपनी, उसके साथ में उसको क्रैक करने की, वो यूएस में मैं जूते बेचूंगा, बोलता व्हाट्स द नेम ऑफ योर कंपनी, कंपनी का नाम ही नहीं है, वो हाथों हाथ कंपनी का नाम बता रहा है. एंड व्हेन आई एम इन माय सिचुएशन इन बिजनेस, व्हेन समवन कम्स अप विद टू मी विद अ क्वेश्चन आई हैव नो आंसर अबाउट, इट्स ओके टू से एन आंसर दैट आई मेड अप राइट नाउ. That's why I love to read books. It's okay to not retain everything. That said, it's great if you can retain everything, you know. So there are people who suggest कि 100 किताब नहीं पढ़नी चाहिए, एक किताब पढ़नी चाहिए, उससे सब नोट करना चाहिए, नोट करने के तरीके भी है, ये सब चीज़ें के लिए मतलब बहुत सारे थिंग्स हैं. बट फॉर मी एटलीस्ट आई डोंट रीड बुक्स बिकॉज मेरे को कोई एग्जाम नहीं देना है. यू नो, मेरे को मजा आता है. हाँ, मजा आता है मेरे को. एंड आई रीड इट फॉर फन एंड आई रीड इट बिकॉज आई वांट टू गेट एक्सेस टू द थॉट पैटर्न्स. आई वांट टू गेट एक्सेस टू, अच्छा वो ऐसे सोचते थे, मैं भी ऐसा सोच सकता हूँ. Yeah.
To prove your point, I just heard the audiobook of Elon Musk, the biography, and I just remember one point. I heard everything. I remember one point that he thinks from the first principle concept. He everything thinks that अगर ठीक है ये रॉकेट है, ये रॉकेट में फ्यूल है, वो फ्यूल के बहुत कॉस्टली है, पर क्यों कॉस्टली है? Exactly. He finds it goes to the base. Yes, वो एक टॉपिक ऐसे याद आ गया क्योंकि मैंने ऑडियो सुनी थी वो.
राइट. एंड इट्स सब चीज भाई, यू डोंट हैव टू रिमेंबर एवरीथिंग. व्हाई यू सो हार्ड ऑन योरसेल्फ? यू डोंट हैव टू रिमेंबर एवरीथिंग. ऐसे मेरे को क्यों सब चीजें याद करनी है? डेल कार्नेगी की किताब में दो मतलब बहुत अच्छे पॉइंट है. अगर मैं एक पॉइंट उठा लूं, एक पॉइंट, दैट्स इनफ फॉर मी टू चेंज माय लाइफ. देयर इज दिस गाय कॉल्ड डैन लॉक, है ना, अगेन अ कंट्रोवर्शियल फिगर, है ना.
वो भी यूट्यूबर.
हाँ, यूट्यूबर है. हाँ, he is a podcaster, he is a YouTuber. He says anytime I read a book, if I get 3 major points I'm going to live with, I stop reading that book. You know, that's one thing. मतलब आपको एक किताब से पूरा ऊपर से नीचे नहीं करना है. It's okay to not do that, you know. At least for now, I live with the principle कि if I start a book I want to complete it. ठीक है, that's my way of doing it. Some people even say it कि क्यों complete करना है. You know, for me it is about developing discipline. कि मैं किताब पढ़ा हूँ तो मेरे को कंप्लीट करना है. That's my way of doing it. You can also be like, मेरे को 3 चीज अच्छी मिल गई, क्यों मैं मेरे को नहीं बनना है Bill Gates. I can learn what I want to learn and move on after that.
वो एक अच्छे पॉइंट्स लास्ट पेजेस में भी हो सकते हैं.
फर्स्ट में भी हो सकते हैं.
इसीलिए वो तो कंप्लीटिंग इज नॉट द क्वेश्चन. द क्वेश्चन इज व्हाट यू लर्न. अगर एक पॉइंट भी अगर आप पढ़ लेते हो बुक में, तो यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट यू नीड टू apply it in your life. You need to apply the principle in your life. You have to not just read. You have to learn the thing.
Yeah, maybe that's true. And I think there is a alpha that you get. I think if you guys are into stock market, we talk about alpha. बोलते हैं ना, alpha मेरे को चाहिए, एक specific edge चाहिए. And I am not into stock market. तो खाली एक word मालूम है. तो alpha चाहिए. I need a special benefit. If nothing else, you can be the smartest guy in your classroom. You know, if anyone is talking about, you know, क्लास में चैप्टर चल रहा है, तो टीचर इज टॉकिंग अबाउट स्पेस, बट मैं तो इलॉन मस्क पढ़ा है मैंने, ये ना. अभी मैं पढ़ रहा था, एवरीवन इज लाइक तुम पागल है, तुम कैसे बना लोगे ये रॉकेट. इट्स लाइक आई हैव अ स्प्रेडशीट. आई एम लाइक व्हाट द हेक आर यू टॉकिंग अबाउट? आई हैव अ स्प्रेडशीट, यू नो. सो या.
Now let's talk about the Kishores. Kishore Mandal में, Kishore Mandal Vijaynagar, all the Kishore Mandals, usually there's problem कि members है बहुत, members है लगभग 70, 80, 100, 200 members, पर active जो है वो बहुत कम हो जाता है. members जो तो part है, पर वो actively participate नहीं करता है. तो what do you think, what's the reason behind this? People say that school, college है हमको, office है, दुकान है, इसे they don't, usually they say like
नहीं, स्कूल कॉलेज तो है, लेकिन अगर 10 आ रहे हैं और 90 नहीं आ रहे, 10 के लिए तो स्कूल कॉलेज है.
वही तो.
It's not their fault. It's our fault. I'll tell you where we are at fault and what we can do. A few ideas to play around. Number one, we only do something if we get value out of it or we get paid for it.
Yeah.
If you are not a rich Kishore Mandal, you cannot pay people to come in, you know. But the other way to is, do they see value in this? Value can be having fun. Value can be learning something new. Value can be just making friends as well. सबसे important point है उनको value दिखाना. उनको value अपने कैसे दिखाएंगे?
ये सब आयामों से.
Now there are some things that we have worked on. that ऊपर से आ सकते हैं. Suppose हमने जो आयाम लाए था किशोर मंडल के, we have TKM talks coming in. This is an example of what we are doing right now. This is more fun, for example, right? Then the TKM humane hai, that you go out there, work in the street with, you know, dogs and put collars in them. You know, there are events like Mic Drop. Ki there are kishores who enjoy public speaking, who enjoy poetry. Aao perform karo, show us what you got. You know, there are other things that kishore enjoy doing. You know, sometimes I think Kishore Mandal जो भवन में होता है, that's very important. That's the core of it. At the end of the day, kishores have, मतलब एक लक्ष्य होना चाहिए कि मुझे धर्म में भी आगे बढ़ना है. And the biggest problem is धर्म is a turn off word, you know, for kishores. Now the exact kishore who find the word dharm as a turn off are the same people who will then go to YouTube and watch Sandeep Maheshwari, Vivek Bindra. Exact same people, right? The thing is, all of the things that they are talking about, motivational speakers सब एक से एक है, लेकिन भगवान महावीर was the first motivational speaker out there. You know, you have all these Think and Grow Rich है, all of this book है, लेकिन भगवान उत्तराध्ययन लिखा वो कितना जबरदस्त book है. You know, I think what I missed to talk about, and one thing that we needed to talk about, the best books I've read, Uttaradyayana is on top of that list probably. You know, listening to the, it's a जबरदस्त book है, इतना जबरदस्त book है. Uttaradyayana is about when Bhagwan was living his final days. Bhagwan Mahavir. He gave his Antim Deshna to Gautam Swami. You know, and he talks about all sort of questions. He talks about life. He talks about challenges. He talks about loneliness. He even talks about अपने बोलते हैं महाराज के यहाँ सारी बातें खुल के. He talks about ब्रह्मचर्य. All of those things that we talk. He talks about अपने जब बोलते हैं कि मतलब opposite you know, gender attraction etc. उसको कैसे deal करना है. भगवान answers all of those questions. एक पूरा chapter है उसके में ब्रह्मचार्य समाधि स्थान बोल के. Such a beautiful chapter out there. You know, Uttaradyayana has so many answers that we are looking for outside in all these people. You know, the reason you need to come to Jain Bhavan, the reason you need to come up with and get closer towards your faith is not because samai karna important hai. It's not because ki upvas karna samatswari ka important hai. It's because the answers of life are hidden in what Bhagwan Mahavir said. There's this one faith out there. Every faith out there is out there trying to say pray God. Tell me which faith is out there trying to say you are God. You know, योगेश मुनि एक बहुत अच्छी बात बोलते हैं कि हे महावीर, I am your past, you are my future. Jainism is probably the only religion out there that comes up to the God and said, I'm not going to pray you because you are you made me. I'm going to pray you because you have qualities that I want to get within me. You are not special. Just as special as you are, I am just as special. You and I have the same soul. And I want to learn from you. That's what this is about. जो अपने ठीक है, you know, branding में problem आ गया अपने, you know, कि branding में आता है जैसे बोलते हैं जैन भगवान, धर्म भगवान, you know, it all sounds so boring to us. वही तो समय, अरे भाई समय क्या है, समय क्या है? It's such a different concept. मेरे दीदी ने मेरे को फोर्स करती थी पहले कि वैभव गेट क्लोजर टू यू, समाई करो, संपर्क करो, एंड देन आई प्रॉमिस्ड आई विल डू 21 minutes ऑफ संपर्क. यू नो, आई स्टार्टेड डूइंग इट. दिन भर चल रहा है, इसके साथ में ये हो गया, उसके साथ में ये हो गया, इतनी चीजें आपके लाइफ में चलिए. 21 minutes you have, you know, 23 hours and 39 minutes for everyone else in the world. You know, you are loving everyone, you are taking care of everyone who's out there to take care of you, and then you sit with yourself for 21 minutes and you have so much fun, you know, because then you're true to yourself. And in that 21 minutes, what you're doing is you're looking up to your role model. You know, you ask about who's your role model. I say Bhagwan Mahavir is my role model. And for all of the kishores, someone asks you who is your role model, say it with pride that Bhagwan Mahavir is my role model. Why is Bhagwan Mahavir my role model? Because I've been betrayed in life. Because you went through betrayal. Because someone cheated with you. Someone was a friend and they did not do right to you. Bhagwan Mahavir को किसी ने सांप ने डस दिया था. Someone was trying to kill him time and again. And you say it's hard to let go and move on. Bhagwan Mahavir ने तुरंत forgive कर दिया वहाँ पे. That's why Bhagwan Mahavir is my role model. Bhagwan Mahavir is my role model because he went through so many intense situations that everyone was against him. He had all the comforts in life, and then he chose to go to the forest and meditate with himself. That there were people who came up and they started boiling his head. He had all the reason to rebel, to be angry. He was accused of something he did not do. जब भगवान महावीर जब वो गौशालक में गाय को चोरी, उन्होंने चोरी किया ही नहीं. He could just say कि मैंने चोरी नहीं किया है. वो you know, किशोर से they don't understand me. The world does not understand. My friends don't understand. Parents don't understand me. भगवान महावीर को भी गौशालक ने समझा नहीं था. But yet, Bhagwan Mahavir knew how to deal with it. And that's why Bhagwan Mahavir is my role model. Bhagwan Mahavir has every quality that I want to have as a person. And Bhagwan Mahavir has faced every challenge that I have faced and I am going to face. And I look up to him because he has lived the life that I want to live. And the biggest thing is, all of us at the end of the day want to be happy. Bhagwan Mahavir achieved a state in his life where he is of supreme happiness. बोलते मोक्ष जाना है. मोक्ष क्या है? The state of permanent peace. That's why Bhagwan Mahavir is my role model.
Very interesting. Now the people, those people, they don't want to do samayik, but they see the motivation speech, they see, and they want to do meditation.
And I don't think it's their problem. I don't think it's their problem. ये ना problem अगर वो नहीं आ रहे हैं तो उनकी गलती नहीं है. गलती आपकी है, गलती मेरी है. गलती मेरी और आपकी, क्योंकि हमने उनको दिखाया ये कि आके समाइक करो. समाइक का मतलब नहीं समझाया. हम, and it's for us to take responsibility. It's for us to take the leadership and share with them कि this is what our faith is about. Make reels out there. And when you ask me किशोर को कैसे जोड़ना है, make sure this is communicated to them. That when you come to Jain Bhavan, it's not because we want you to do तेरा माला क्यों करनी है. You know, everything that you find boring, this is a challenge I have for you as a Kishore. Everything that you find boring as a Kishore about Jain Dharam, about Terapanth Kishore Mandal, go out there to a monk and nun and ask them why. जाप करना नहीं समझ में आता, पूछ लो ना एक बार जाके, महाराज मेरे को जाप बोरिंग लगता है, क्यों करना चाहिए? पूछ लो जाके एक बार खाली. जाप इसलिए करना चाहिए because there is a concept in neuroscience. It's called auto repetition. Auto repetition ये बोलता है when you repeat one thing to your brain again and again and again, it's more likely to get hired and wired in your brain. एक ही बात को बार बार रिपीट करने से. माला मतलब क्या, 108 बार आप वही बात को रिपीट कर रहे हो. सेम बात जब एंड्रयू ह्यूबरमैन अपनी भाषा में बोलेगा तब सब सुनेंगे. यू नो, लेक्स फ्रीडमैन जब बोलेंगे तब सुनेंगे. यू नो, सेम बात जब जो रोगन अपने पॉडकास्ट में बोलेंगे तब सुन लेंगे अपने. बट अपने साधु संत बोल रहे हैं, जस्ट बिकॉज दे डोंट शो दैट ऑफ, just because they are not branding with those complicated words, we chose not to go over there. Every answer that you're looking for has been given by Bhagwan Mahavir and is communicated by these monks and nuns to us because they've been through. Bhagwan Mahavir has experienced every hardship that you have experienced.
All the motivation speakers are taking the knowledge from Bhagwan Mahavir's the book, you said now?
Uttarakhand, there's a lot in it, and even though if they don't, you know, it's core बहुत जबरदस्त है यार उत्तराध्ययन सूत्र. I should have said that. I think I was going through a challenging period in my life, and उत्तराध्ययन सूत्र was what I went to, and it gave me so many answers. It continues to give me a lot of answers. कभी किसी साधु संत से जाके पूछो, महाराज किम में करम किम च में किच्चे सेसम किम सकन निजम न समायरा में क्या होता है? भगवान महावीर ने कहा जर्नलिंग बोलते हैं. यू नो, भगवान महावीर ने जर्नलिंग 2000 साल पहले बताई थी. Every day you go out there and say किम में करम, what did I do today? किम च में किच्चे सेसम. You know, what was I supposed to do today? I did not do today. Kim sakkan nijam na samayarami. What am I going to do tomorrow? All of those Bhagwan Mahavir has talked about. So go out there, get closer to Kishore Mandal, because through Kishore Mandal you get access to these monks and nuns. And it is for us to make sure that we building that bridge. So if this is Kishore Mandal Gandhinagar or Vijaynagar or Surat, anywhere, it's for us to make sure we are that bridge. यू नो, अट्रैक्ट करने के लिए अपने को ये आयाम्स भी करने हैं, लेकिन आयाम इसलिए नहीं करना कि भवन जाना बोरिंग है, इसके माध्यम से जोड़ेंगे तब वो भवन जाएंगे. भवन इज जस्ट एज इंटरेस्टिंग, आपको बनाना है इंटरेस्टिंग. और अपने बोलते साधु संत क्या जाते हैं बोरिंग लगते. एक बात बताओ, अपने दादी माँ के पास अपने जाएंगे, अपने को कुछ बात बताने की कोशिश करेंगे, थोड़ा सा बोरिंग होता है ना. क्यों बोरिंग होता है? दे हैव नॉट बीन इन आवर जनरेशन. इफ वेयर यू आर लिविंग यू हैव एक्सेस टू मॉन्क्स एंड नन्स हु आर ऑफ योर एज, यू कैन रीच आउट टू टॉक टू देम. इफ यू डोंट, try to understand in their language. ठीक है, थोड़ा सा गैप होता है. I'm accepting that कि साधु संतों की बात कई बार सुनते तो ऊपर से जाती है, does not make sense, boring लगता है, नींद आती है. I get you. I get exactly where you're coming from. You know, I have experienced that a lot of times as well. But the answer is, they know the answers. थोड़ा सा language में अपने को effort करना पड़ेगा. You're not paying for the course, so instead you pay with your patience. Yeah.
To sum up that, Kishores are getting half knowledge. They are not getting, उनको पता है कि समय करना है. We are not able to provide them with the full knowledge कि क्यों समय करना है, क्यों करना है. We have to let them know the real reason, the real benefit of doing anything that Jainism tells them to do.
Yep.
Am I right?
Yep. Exactly.
So this is a very important thing to keep in mind. So we are going to the conclusion part. So before the concluding this the entire podcast, I would like to ask some few questions. The small questions, as ending questions, that we have seen that Kishores go to other organizations to grow and to do other things. They see YouTube videos, they do etc. Other everything else than going to than anything related to Jainism or their Dharam, their own religion. They leave that aside and they do everything to grow, but they don't know the potential which is kept in Jainism to make them what they want to become. So according to you, what is 3 reasons a Kishore should join in Terapanth Kishore Mandal?
Before giving 3 reasons to the Kishore, I think it's important for us to take responsibility. I, as the Rashtriya Sah Prabhari of Kishore Mandal, you as the Sanyojak of Kishore Mandal, to take in the lead and ensure that Kishore Mandal is fun and interesting for them.
Yeah.
You know? The 3 reasons why Kishore should come is, number 1, you're all looking for answers in life that you're lost about. Your faith is the way to get the answers. That's why you should be involved with Kishore Mandal, because Kishore Mandal is your medium to get connected to the monks and nuns. Second reason is you should be involved with Kishore Mandal because you'll make amazing friends for life. Not just local level पे, but at the same time जब अधिवेशन वगैरह में जाओगे, आपको कोई भी business करना है कल, there's a Kishore from Nokha and there's a Kishore from Bangalore, you want to do something to do with saris and you'll make that connection over there. You'll have friendships and you'll nurture your relationship. Third, you're going to face a lot of challenges in your life coming forth. You're going to have a lot of dilemmas. You know, you're going to have a lot of lot of situation where you have to choose between yourself and your faith and the world asking you to do something. You're going to be sitting in a table where everyone is forcing you to do something and you have to make a choice. You know, that's where Kishore Mandal comes in, because you learn in the values over here to do the right thing. You know, that's why Kishore Mandal is important. So number 1 is because you get the answers of your life. Second is you make amazing friends, and third is it is your medium to finding answers when you are in the moments of dilemma in life.
Yeah. So exactly what I was looking for, exactly the perfect answer right on the spot. So we'll conclude this the podcast by thanking Vaibhav Bhaiya to give us so insightful knowledge about all the different aspects, the books, the Kishore Mandal, the IAMs, the fun, the games, the bonding, the friendship, everything. You have just concluded the entire thing into one, and we have put forward for you in this podcast. So thank you, Vaibhav Bhaiya, for being a part of this and being on the first episode of our podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being the first Kishore Mandal to start TKM. Amazing.
A single quote to end the podcast from yourself.
A single quote to end the podcast. The worst that can happen is never that bad. That's a principle I try to live with. And what that means is, when you have a shot to take in life, when you have a goal to do or not do, when you have a person to approach or not to approach, when you have a question to ask or not ask, the worst thing that happens when you ask a question is you get ridiculed. It's not that bad. The worst thing that happens if you try to start a business and you fail is you are not doing it already. So you're at the same point zero. It's not that bad. The worst thing that happens if you ask someone to mentor you and yet they don't, is they were not mentoring you before, they're not mentoring you now. Exactly. So the worst that can happen is never that bad. And yeah, get closer towards your faith.